because I always think this is fascinating because you're looking at the advancement in technology, you're looking at where we're going in aviation, you're looking at DoD, Department of Defense. What type, kind of define it for the layman so that the people can understand what type of things you're doing.
One of our projects, we do a lot working with safety. So we do separation standards. And when the FAA about 4 years ago or so made a new rule, knowing that the capacity in our national airspace was only going to increase based on travelers' expectations and wishes, that we needed to have more defined rulemaking on separating aircraft. So my company works a lot with safely assessing and risk assessments on how do you do that for the FAA. Once that rule was changed, we support that, help aircraft go through the process of getting certified on older fleet, and most of the new aircraft today have a lot of those, the equipment for safely flying a certain distance. So we work a lot with separating aircraft. We work a lot with some of the environmental issues around airports. So we deal with safety, the #1 mission of the FAA to ensure. So it looks a little bit like that.
So how many other companies are there out there doing things similar to what you do? I mean, I haven't run across.
Not many small businesses.
Yeah.
There are others that look like that. So whether it looks like teaming for the two expertise of our companies, because I think there's a lot of value in working with small businesses, a lot of innovation. And then there's a couple large businesses like AirInc who deal with some of the separation standards as well.
And how many of those have women CEOs?
None. I don't think any. I want to say none.
Yeah,
yes.
I think you're right. I think it's really fascinating what you're doing. So just yesterday, Obama came out and said that they're going to set aside, and so that you can, for all money going into infrastructure, dealing with transportation, looking very seriously at transportation, industrial base, that 100% of those dollars will be written off. Will you see any of that come to you? Will they be looking at those kinds of things? Because I know our aviation infrastructure is one of the key things in our country.
Well, today we are working a lot of the next generation for air traffic management with the FAA and others working with the national airspace. So CSSI was awarded the system engineering 2020, so the year 2020, contract, a $280 million 10-year contract as a small business prime. And so we're definitely working a lot of the ongoing implementation of those initiatives, and we'll continue to do so. So yes, we hope to get every one of those dollars.
Yeah. I think it's really, really interesting. So tell me what the ideal employee who works at CSSI looks like.
Okay, so we have a lot of young engineers who are either out of college, who have the specialty of aerospace transportation, who come in and are doing a lot of, whether it's software development, doing a lot of modeling. So we'll model airspace on helping the FAA do cost-benefit analysis, assessments on what the impacts are. So the pros and cons of making a decision or change. So a lot of the folks are working on some really bright things, and we have an area, a virtual lab. It's called Real Lab, the Research Engineering Analysis Laboratory. And what that looks like is kind of all the different disciplines getting together for a brown bag, whatever the subject is that they will be discussing, and presenting the challenges. Our customers can be invited to that, whether it's FAA and Navy, and it's really just looks like white papers. It looks like the challenges that coming up with some innovation or creative ideas on how to address or proceed. And I come into the door where most of them are located in New Carrollton, and I said, the IQ level's coming down, I'm coming in. So,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I love that kind of innovation, and I think that that's one of the things that, and I used to do a lot of advocacy work, especially in the industry and IT industry, understanding that, and when people understand what happened when we created open access in the IT space, what happened is that the minute you created open access, and that was the MCI ruling that broke up the Bell companies, the minute we broke that up, what happened was that people, all of these bright young minds, started businesses in their basements, in their garages, because they were, what happened when we did that is that innovation often comes on the perimeter. It doesn't come internally. It comes from the bright young minds working out here, And if you look at how, when we had advances in telephone, the first people who really began texting, which became a new communication form, were like 12 and 14-year-olds. So you have to watch trends, and that's something you need to do. And that's why it's really important today to have that younger, bright mind coming in, innovating and looking at it, you know, changing the glass upside down. And what does that mean, and how does that look? So it's really exciting when you work in an industry like that, and you permit yourself, your people. I used to always have an open door policy. You got ideas? I want to hear your ideas.
Exactly.
Let's look at how can we reframe this? What should we be looking at? You can also tell what the future is going to lead to by looking at that. Are you seeing those kinds of things there?
Definitely. And I think it's not just that the creative, the kind of folks who haven't been molded into a certain set, youth coming out of colleges and working, you know, after internships. It's also adding that to the experience of pilots, because we have a lot of pilots on staff. We have air traffic controllers retired. We have just a lot of different disciplines. So you're seeing the experience and that youth of the inexperience, but education just kind of blending. And again, it looks like what we try to encourage, and in fact I invest money back into this, to the company, to brainstorm. And it's wonderful to see people talk about something that they're passionate about, see it from different perspectives, and then how that best supports our customers who get that creativity, and it's wonderful to watch.
So how do you set up a brainstorming environment where ideas are free to be shared? Tell me what that looks like in your company, and how often do you do that, and what does that look like? Because you're a big company now, so it's not like you're a small company of 50 people, you're a big company. How do you make that happen?
Well, we actually have 5 different areas, so I have 5 vice presidents of operations, one of them specifically for the research area, applied research, and a lot of that looks like those folks are working on a lot of different contracts. So they're not contract specific other than how they blend across the board. So there's a lot of integration and talent just being spread throughout the company.
So one thing that may be true over here on this contract may also be true on another contract over here, so recognizing.
Exactly, and you wouldn't learn that unless you have the brown bag. So I have a CTO who actually influences a monthly luncheon to gather, here's what the subject is, here's what our challenge is, here, you know, please do some research, and we're going to invite all of these folks in this one area who touch every contract to come and brainstorm on that. So we encourage that, we put resources into that, money into that, and what it looks like is white papers, panel presentations, conversations with customers to better support them, and to me it looks like more tasking and work, fun work, challenging work for the employees. And so it's worked for us. So I wouldn't call it, it's like a think tank. I don't think the company, we're a think tank of all PhDs, and not to say that that would be really boring, but to me that would be really boring. But I think that it's just a flavor of that we actually can put that as a discriminator and add that to each of our proposals.
What type of feedback have you gotten from your clients about that?
Absolutely wonderful. I think for us it's just the market, the ability to market, that it's not just these one deep folks that you're tapping into constantly. We have a lot of talent in the company. So what it looks like is, I want that person, and that's the only person I want. Well, that's a great person, and absolutely you can have that person. But we also have 5 more of those folks that work together in a team. So it's just really educating them on, we're not just that one person deep. And that was really the interesting part too, is customers, they become very, which is great, you know, this is my body, this is my contract, and you don't do anything else. So it's educating them on just the breadth and depth of the company, that it's not just one deep, and because it makes them the problem solver.
So we always like to take a moment when we hear great ideas, and this is a phenomenal idea. So inviting your team and your clients to come to your offices and have a discussion about what's available, what challenges, what clients need, having their input, especially when you're government contracting space, to be able to open that door and say, you know, not only can we address this issue, but you also see this coming. I think that relationship becomes,
it's a true partnership.
Relationship. Yeah, it really is. The people know that they can candidly come and have resources, because as we grow and things change, you have more challenges.
Right.
Which is, I like to call opportunities.
Yeah. So, the opportunities.